Hey, what's up you guys? Today I am doing my February TBR and I'm also just going to talk about a couple of videos that I want to make in February, and this is like holding myself accountable that if I don't make these videos in February I will fall out with myself, because I actually do want to make them but I just keep putting off starting reading the books to make them. So this is a public announcement that I'm going to make these videos. Also, obviously it's just another TBR video. It's a very classics heavy month. I didn't plan it this way, it just kind of happened. So, you know, I don't know. I definitely do want to read all the books on this list, but I will hopefully throw some more like fun ones in at some point, because I'm like looking at my list, I'm like, this is very, very classics heavy. But regardless, I will talk about the books. Right now, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, all that usual stuff. And let me just get started talking about my first category of books. So one of my 2021 goals was to read more books from authors from countries that were not England and the USA. I really, really want like my pie chart at the end of this year to be much more reflective of the world overall. I don't want just like, half of it being USA, like a quarter of it being England, and then like some books from every other country. Like I really want like a nice rounded out summary, and not summary, I don't know, but you know what I mean. So in January I started reading some French books and I've read 3 so far. Obviously this is not a wrap up, so I won't talk about them here, but in February I'm going to continue this and read the last French books I have, and then I'm going to make a video talking about French books and my thoughts on them and all that stuff, and just some recommendations. I realised that all the ones I read were classics because that's just what I'm like. So I've actually ordered a new, I think it was a 2020 release or maybe 2019 French book that's translated, and I'm excited to get to that. But the first one that I want to talk about is Nana by Emile Zola, and this is a classic about a young woman who is a street prostitute, and then she ends up being like a high class prostitute for maybe not the nobles, but like the aristocrats and that type of thing. And I just think this will be really interesting to read about sex work from not only a French perspective, but also like, the classic perspective. I don't know when this was written, I think it's the 1800s, don't quote me on that, but I've heard great things about Emile Zola. Dancing Lawn, check out her channel, I will link it down below. She has read a few Emile Zola books. She hosted a read along for one last year, which I was going to join, and then I ended up not joining, and then I said I was going to read this instead, because it was on my physical TBR, and then I ended up not reading it. So this month I'm finally reading Nana. It's happening. It's literally going to be the first book I read. Like, no excuses. I need to read this book because I actually do really think it's going to be interesting, but I just haven't picked it up yet. The second French book is, it's 2 in 1, and it is Around the World in 80 Days and then 5 Weeks in a Balloon, both by Jules Verne, but the edition I have, which is like the Wordsworth Classics, has both books in one, so I will probably read both, and then maybe on Goodreads I'll count it as like 2 separate books, just to give myself a little boost. But these are adventure novels about, 5 Weeks in a Balloon is about 2 men who go to Africa, and that one I'm a little bit nervous about because obviously it was written in like the 1800s, I think 1850s, and I don't know if the portrayal of Africa is going to end up actually being kind of offensive, but I guess we'll find out. And then Around the World in 80 Days is about 2 men who go around the entire world on a bet to see if they can go around the entire globe in 80 days, and it is like very well known. I don't really want to know much more about it other than that. I'm assuming like it's going to be just wacky adventures in lots of different countries, and I'm excited to read it because Jules Verne is like one of those very, very famous authors that like everyone knows, especially as a child, because in Europe obviously we have Disneyland Paris, and the Discoveryland, I think that's what it's called, section of the park is like themed on Jules Verne. So there's like some information about his stuff, and I remember like looking up like information on his books when I was younger just because of Disneyland, because I used to go to Disneyland quite a lot. I haven't been in years, but anyway. So I just think this will be really fun and interesting because he's like a very, very, very well known author. Emile Zola, I think he's very well known in like the French classic world, but I've never really heard anyone talk about him outside of that. But I think he is going to be really great as well. And then the more modern one is The Loyalties by Delphine de Vigan. And it's quite short. I think it's like 230 pages it says. And it is about people with like dark secrets. So I don't want to know much more than that really. But from what I read on the summary, It's like about a young boy who's very worried about his friend, and then he goes to the teacher, and then the teacher like really tries to seek help for this young boy, because I don't know if he's going to end up being like a psychopath type thing, I'm not sure. And then there was another description about like a wife who finds like really disturbing stuff on her husband's computer, and I just think this will be really cool. I haven't read any modern French books or anything, so this will be a nice different perspective. And then the second video that I really want to make in February, like I must make this video, is episode 1 of my series on LGBT classics. I have been talking about this series in so many videos for the last like 2 or 3 months, and I've bought so many books, I've downloaded so many books, and I just need to actually start reading the books to make the videos. So the very first episode will be about the 1700s and 1800s, and the first book is Memoirs of Fanny Hill by John Cleland, and this came out in 1748, and it was the first erotic novel, and is about a young girl who is tricked into prostitution. I don't know how she's tricked. I'm assuming in like modern day language that would be like human trafficking. So quite a serious topic, but I'm assuming it's not going to really dive into like the seriousness of it. I've heard it's actually quite a humorous book, and it is about her. Obviously she's tricked into this, but then she kind of discovers the joy of sex, and according to Wikipedia, tries to go and have it in like as many different ways as possible. So I just think that sounds really interesting, very unique, very interesting, especially for a book that came out in the 1700s. According to Wikipedia as well, it is one of the most banned books of all time, and like I'm pretty sure the author faced like obscenity charges and stuff, and like the books were like taken out of shops and everything. So I just think it sounds very wild for a book from the 1700s. The second one is Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, and this is a vampire book. It came out before Dracula, and it is about a lesbian vampire called Carmilla, and that is all I know. I don't want to know much more than that. I just think this is going to be also really fun. I really enjoy vampire books, and I think a lot of people assume that Dracula was like the first because of just how well known it is, but there are vampire books like before him, and Carmilla is one of like the big ones. And I'm really excited to get to this as well. It's been on my TBR forever, and I just never got to it. And then when I thought of this video idea and I realised that Carmilla would fit into it, I was very happy, because it's like 2 birds with 1 stone. The third one, is The Sins of the Cities of the Plain by Jack Saul. This one there's not as much information about, but again, this is like the third book on this TBR that is about prostitution. It is about a young gay prostitute, and it was the first. So Memoirs of Fanny Hill was the first erotic novel in general, but I'm pretty sure The Sins of the Cities of the Plain was the first like homosexual erotic novel. So I think that'll be pretty wild as well. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty tame, like both of them as well. And Fanny Hill, I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty tame compared to what you would expect today, but I just am really excited to see these topics from that kind of perspective. Sins of the Cities of the Plain, I think, is like 1850s, but again, don't quote me. My video series I'm making will actually go like in depth and like talk about the history and stuff, but right now I'm just kind of, trying to summarize. Then lastly, I don't know if I'm actually going to reread this, but The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It will be in the video I plan on making, but I don't know if I want to reread it right now. I'll see like how time goes and stuff, because obviously February is only 28 days, so it's a little bit shorter than normal. And I have read it before. I did enjoy it. I didn't love it, and I do want to reread it. So I guess this is like a better time than any. So I probably will reread it, but it's not like the top of my priority list for February. Some other books then that I have on my February TBR that are not for specific videos. I recently bought a big bunch of these penguin moderns, and they are so cute. Like, they're so small, and there is 50 in the series, but I just bought 18, and that really stood out to me. It sounded interesting. I kind of chose them at random, to be honest. I don't know what most of them are about. I specifically chose ones that were not from authors in the USA for the most part, and the ones that were from the USA are black. So I bought Martin Luther King's Letter from Birmingham Jail, and then the two that I really want to prioritise this month are Audre Lorde's The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House, and James Baldwin's Dark Days. And both of these are essay collections. I think there's 3 essays in both books, all about racism, and then Audre Lorde's also touches on feminism, and I just really want to get to these. I think I'm going to try and get a few more, but I'll probably just pick them at random, maybe. I'm not sure. I've already started the Martin Luther King one. I don't know if I said that. I've read The Letter from Birmingham Jail is like the first half, and then there's another speech which I haven't read yet, but I will today. And yeah, I just think these are like so cute. They're all like 80 pages, like no more than 80 pages, I'm pretty sure, and they are just like super fun. I bought countries that I didn't. This is like turned into a haul video, but I bought countries or authors that I haven't read from, since obviously I'm trying to like read more widely around the globe. So I have authors from like Brazil, Argentina, Portugal, Serbia, Japan, like just a bunch of different countries. So I'm really excited to get into these. And then I have a buddy read with Tori from Hufflepuff Discovery, and we are reading The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. I have never read any Thomas Hardy books, but she loves them. He is one of her favourite authors, and I am excited to, you know, read my very first one with someone that loves his work. I think that would be a really good experience. And I think it is about a marriage that goes like disastrously wrong, and like they fall out of love, but then obviously because it's like a Victorian classic, divorce and stuff isn't really an option. So I think it'll be quite cool. Again, don't really know that much. This is why I don't really love TBR videos, because I don't like to know that much about books before I go into them. But anyway, the final book on my TBR is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, and this is the final main series Cassandra Clare Shadowhunters books that I have not read yet. The new one comes out in March, which I'm very excited for. Chain of Gold takes place in 1903, I think, I looked up, and it is following the children of the characters of the Infernal Devices series, and it is about a demon attack in London, because it's always about a demon attack. I have heard mostly good things about this by my friends that are also Shadowhunter stans like me, so I am looking forward to it. However, I've heard a few people, I can't recall who off the top of my head, say that it is a little bit repetitive from other books, and it doesn't really introduce anything new, and the demon attack thing is kind of played out, which I do get the feeling that it is. However, I love the Shadowhunter series so much anyway that I don't think I'll really care. So if you have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts on them in the comments. I know a lot of them are pretty obscure, but you never know, people might have read them. And I'm excited to get to all of them, and I promise I'm going to make, this is like a promise to myself more than anything, like I'm going to make the French video and the classics, the LGBT classics video in February. Why am I doing this? That's like a loser sign. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe. Obviously, like I already said, leave a comment, and I will see you in my next video.